Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this exciting session. I'm not really sure if is it working on? I'm not really sure if we're still standing between you and lunch, but I promise you a very exciting and an interactive session. I think you have to use the mics. We have a very esteemed line of speakers today to address this very interesting and highly debatable issue combining two highly hyped buzzwords, AI and 6G. So we definitely promise you an interactive session. Please allow me to welcome our esteemed panelists for today's discussion, invite them to the stage. We have Perti Lukander from Nokia. We have also Iman Muhyiddin from Nokia. And we have our specialist and experienced consultant, Ahmed Lishaili. Dr. Ahmed Lishaili, تفضل لو سمحت على الstage. Please join me welcoming the panelists. الله يحييك. Welcome. So we're very excited to have you joining us in this panel. Again, we're going to have this challenging task of trying to marry 6G into AI and find out the implications, the aspirations, the requirements, the challenges, and the shortfalls that these two technologies bring together. We will be touching upon, again, some of the challenges, aspirations, applications from an end-user perspective. We're also going to cover some of what we expect AI to do in terms of addressing those challenges and the implications that this new front line of technology is going to have on spectrum and regulatory framework. I'll introduce the panelists really quickly because it's important to shed some light on the different perspectives they're going to be bringing. They represent the end user, the aspirations of what people are looking for in terms of 6G, vendor perspective, and also, although Iman also works for a vendor, but she does have this large surface area understanding regulatory frameworks and spectrum policies. Peter Lukander, I'll start with you. Peter heads the technology leadership at Nokia, focusing on 6G. He works with corporate standards team as well as Nokia Bell Labs. He brings definitely interesting perspectives and value proposition and insights into the value proposition of 6G into the evolutionary track of RAN. And he also sits on the board of the recently established AI-RAN Alliance. We also have Dr. Ahmed Lishaili. He is a technology executive who assumed multiple leadership roles in Saudi Arabia, in Red Sea Global, in CST, and previously in TELUS. He also holds a PhD from University of Toronto and has an established career in the R&D and academic sphere. We also have Iman. Iman is also with Nokia. She heads the global spectrum standardization practice for Nokia. She is actively involved in WRC, ITU efforts, and she contributes actively to a number of work groups related to spectrum and policy. So welcome everyone to this panel. Our plan is to start by offering you the chance to give a couple of minutes of remarks, maybe position yourself around the concept of 6G AI so that we can take the discussion forward. And I would promise everyone in the audience a highly interactive, fruitful debate about 6G, AI, and the future of wireless mobile telecom networks. Maybe I can start with you, Dr. Ahmed, since we had this very interesting introductory discussion about 6G. So maybe you can give us your opening remarks.
Are you sure you want to start with me?
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
we'll set the grounds for the discussion.
Thumbs up if you can hear me, because this is a unique audio setup. Okay. Absolute pleasure to be here. I need to start with a disclaimer. I'm here in my personal individual capacity. What I'm providing is personal opinions. I'm not representing anyone. So this is just me providing my personal information. Why do I have to put this disclaimer? Because we got 2 cameras shooting right now, and this is probably going to haunt us on the internet and for as long as we live. So I really miss the old days when there was no recordings and you could just say whatever you want and get away with it. Now it's like people will keep you in check and it's going to haunt you. And that's actually where I want to start. So we're talking about AI, 6G, the hottest buzzwords that we have right now. And it seems like the industry is repeating the same playbook that occurred more than 10 years ago. So I want to start back by looking back in history. Back at the peak of 5G hype. So I prepared some quotes. Anyone can look them up online. So please fact check me on everything I say. Don't take anything I say for granted. Back in 2018, Verizon CEO Hans Witzberg said that 5G is way more, and I quote, 5G is way more than just a step up from the current wireless technologies. It's a quantum leap that will bring an era of radically new possibilities across all areas of technology and will be the driver of fourth industrial revolution. I'm looking for that fourth industrial revolution driven by 5G. If you ever find it, let me know, okay? Sprint CEO Marcelo Clare also said in 2018 that going from 4G to 5G is like going from black and white TV to color TV. Qualcomm CEO said along the lines of MWC 2019 in a blog post that 5G is here and it's time to celebrate. I would celebrate if I were Qualcomm because they made a ton of money out of the chips that they sold, so good for them. Intel 5G strategy GM at the time, Rob Tupol said you could pull up to a spotlight and millimeter wave antenna is going to provide you with a burst of download to update the car. It's going to give you hundreds of gigabytes within just a few seconds to support your self-driving car. I would love to buy that car if anyone has it. Finbar Mayonhan, a GM at MediaTek, said that millimeter wave is the foundational fundamental technology that's going to shape a lot of things that we can't even imagine yet because of the new spectrum. The big wide bandwidth it opens up and the latency. There was talk about 5G running factories, smart cities, autonomous cars, and remote surgery. Huawei actually and China Unicom performed the remote surgery on an animal back in 2019 in the Fujian China Unicom Southeast Research Institute. So there was a lot of madness going on back then, but there were some sane people as well. My favorite was Sony's vice president of marketing at the time, Don Musa, who said, a lot of people say that 5G is a technology that's waiting for a problem to solve. And he went on to say, I think it's interesting to see truly what 5G can do. And it's hard to theorize when people can talk about in ideal setups about what 5G can do. But in real world settings, I'm very curious, very much looking forward to seeing how far cities popping up with 5G setups can push the limits. Last but not least, I'm also going to quote the Director of Product Development and Operation at Motorola, Doug Miku. He said, it's hard to specify clear consumer benefits of 5G speeds. So there were some people who were rationale and some people rode the hype wave, and here we are coding them 6 years later. I'm going to stop here because I want to hear some hype. Come on, hype us up, guys.
Pretty, please feel free to set the ground for what 6G...
By the way, I also have a lot of quotes on 6G people, AI people, who raised billions of dollars promising that, we're going to have an AI that's smarter than all of Nobel Prize winners combined, that's going to cure cancer in minutes and so on and so forth. So
maybe it was
stuff.
like a timing
really
issue, Perty. Maybe it was like the lack of sufficient technology backing up what's being expected. So what's your opening remark in terms of this context?
Thanks, Dr. Ahmed, for this opening, and special thanks that you didn't quote any Nokia people or me. So.
I have great friends from Nokia.
My 6G journey started maybe 4 years ago when almost nobody was talking about 6G. Now we are, 4 years from the launch, optimistically, or the industry schedules show us launch in late 29. So I think this is excellent time to reflect learnings from the past hyping, and I don't think the 6G hype is on that level at the moment as the 5G hype was 8 years ago. I think the time is now to make it right. We have obviously here we are in a spectrum-related environment, and I think the community administrations, industry operators, we need to understand where we place the 6G in the spectrum charts, and we will be discussing that. Also, the standards machinery in 3GPP has now started after 4 years of pre-standards discussion. So now is the time for the bigger mobile community to agree what will be standardized and what will be built then eventually, and therefore it's an excellent time to also reflect the learnings from the past. So looking forward to this discussion, and thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Iman, we have already set the ground in terms of what is going to be expected to be discussed in this panel. Any opening remark to position yourself around the concept and notion of AI plus 6G? Yeah, we'll come back to you. Yeah.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to have that discussion. But for me, myself, I have been in the technology definition and development long time ago. I started with a 5G vision when we did it in the ITU. I'm coming more from the ITU perspective and in the R sector, the radio sector, where we have a group that develop those technologies. And in that group, it's called IMT 2020. And like Dr. Ahmed was saying that he had some doubt about the black and white, and then you are going to go to a color TV. I see the color TV. I see what kind of requirement that we have defined back in more than 5-6 years ago when we have developed the IMT 2020, and we have also found the ground for it. We have defined some kind of like the latency, the performance issues and everything. We have put it in a vision document, and we are seeing it now. We are using it right now. Everyone, when he has just, you push on your phone, you will see the 5G signal, and you will see what kind of performance you are experiencing. Yep. Similarly, we have defined in the ITUR as well the vision for 6G. It's called IMT 2030. And the vision is driven by application and capabilities like AI, traffic, which is we are currently experiencing now. We are experiencing so many application on AI, XR, and there are many things. I cannot just tell the practical one. So we just defined the vision for 6G or IMT 2030 that we have from the 5D. And we have, let's say, a framework, what we are going to expect the 6G plus those use cases driven by AI traffic, driven by the sensing, driven by the communication. We are going to see them, and we have defined that one, and currently we are defining the requirements in ITUR. So it's just a matter of time when we see this all and we are using it all.
Excellent. So before I proceed, I want to make sure that the panelists hear each other. I guess if you switch it on, it's channel 1, it should be working. Right?
This is not working.
Okay, if we can get some audio support for Dr. Ahmed to make sure that he can hear the other panelists.
It's dead.
It's dead, okay. So Ahmed, I'm going to again get back to you.
Okay.
I see that you have put your iPad on the side, so no more
I don't need to read anymore.
So you have this experience that covers, you've spent some time. Thank you so much, Professor Salim. Thank you so much. So you've been actually, you spent some time at working for vendors, for end users, for regulators. So when I ask you this question, regardless of the labeling and the nomenclature, 6G, 5G, XG, what is that let's say, area of applications, use cases that you feel as end users are still aspiring for, but the technology is not there yet? Like eventually we want to search, we want to really identify that problem that is looking for a technology, not vice versa. So from your perspective, what is really that problem, use case, application layer, or aspirations that still waiting for technology to be ready? Yeah.
So, again, personal opinion. Yes. I don't even think we reached that stage yet. Mm-hmm. We are yet to reach the hard limits of 5G technologies.
Okay.
To start to say, okay, we have a problem here. This technology, this network setup no longer is fit for purpose, and we need to elevate it. Again, looking back, we moved from 2G to 3G after we reached hard limitations on the capacity of 2G. Right. We wanted to carry more voice and we wanted to carry more data.
Right.
And that was the transition from 2G to 3G. Same thing from 3G to 4G with the data explosion, and then it blew up. 5G fundamentally added more capacity, better latency, and support for more connections. But between the lines, it was driven by the shift of revenue from service providers, the telcos and the vendors, to the OTT players. Mm-hmm. Yes, there were some technical justifications to move, but the real driver was business. Mm-hmm. And today, the real driver is business, not technology. Because, okay, everyone deployed 5G. Nobody made the money they were hoping to make. So how do vendors sell again? They have to sell them on 6G. And my issue is we still don't have a proper problem statement. What are we solving for technically to unlock a new G, if there is going to be a new G? Because you could draw parallels to chips. Mm-hmm. We had small scale integration, SSI, and then we had medium scale integration, MSI, and then large scale integration, LSI. That was the 3G of the chips, and then there was VLSI, which was the 4G of the chips. Mm-hmm. And then that's it, no more Gs. They kept going from micrometers to nanometers, and the processes kept evolving, but it was all under the umbrella of VLSI. So I don't know if telecom is going to face a similar fate, and 5G will be it. But there is no proven technical limitation of what 5G can do on paper today that drives us to, okay, let's scrap this and start something new. Because when you say a new G, what is a new G?
Right.
It's killing backward compatibility with previous Gs. It's starting as a clean slate, developing something new. You no longer have to be backward compatible, because in every technology, you start with a release and you start refining it over and over and over the course of 10 years until you squeeze every enhancement out of it, and then you're like, that's it. Let's reset this whole setup and start again. But we haven't reached this. Like, even like proper 5G standalone is barely deployed today, and I am pretty sure that it hasn't reached its limits, so that we would have to scrap it and start again.
Okay.
Even if you say we want to introduce AI, if you're going to talk about it in the context of networks, we've been doing it since 2010, but just back then, we used to call it SON, self-operating networks.
Yes.
But now, the flavor of the month is AI, and all the cool kids have to have something with AI in what they're doing. So we have AI in our networks, but it's actually the same SON we've been working on for decades now.
Right.
But sure, let's call it AI if that's what's going to sell.
Right. Well, I have thrown these kind of, let's say, points of view at Perti, and he was, able to bring some really interesting insights into why we need a G or an enhancement. Again, the labeling is probably not what we're debating right now. It's really, how we introduce or make technology work to the interest of end users and applications. So Perti, maybe you can comment on that, and also touch upon, I think what you call the Nokia Bell Labs or the Nokia Bell Lab foresight for futuristic traffic forecasts and use cases. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah. Thanks. Again, excellent points raised, and the question that why are we in an industry that has this 10-year cycle with new Gs, and how does it work, and what if we would be in some other kind of setup is really key. And eventually these Gs probably will end, but I don't think it's still yet here. We are, from the traffic point of view, we are seeing that the traffic in mobile networks continues to grow. Different estimates, but we see that maybe 20-30% sort of annual growth rate on the global scale in the traffic in mobile networks. We don't see any sign of that leveling out with our forecasts that my friends at Bell Labs are doing. So when we are in this industry which has these Gs, what often happens or so far has always happened, that a new G comes with a lot of improvement in the spectral efficiency and how much traffic it can carry. But at the same time, new frequency bands are also opened. And therefore the traffic can be carried for the next decade or so. And our forecasts show that if we do nothing, we don't create the new G and we don't find any new spectrum, then in the end of this decade, 2028, 2029, we will have a majority of the global mobile traffic in 5G, so all the efficiencies are used, and then we are starting to reach the limit in the spectrum bands that operators have, and of course every operator and country and region is different, but on a global scale we are kind of starting to hit the limit. Then is that the good thing or bad thing? I think for the industry that is here to carry the traffic, it would be kind of unwelcome future that there is no sort of room to carry the traffic anymore. But the drivers that we see in growing the traffic are also somewhat renewing. So we of course have video filling all of our airwaves now, but we are seeing that the introduction of the consumer level sort of AI tools and assistants is one driver where suddenly the assistant is creating traffic on my behalf. Now it's very tiny. We have been doing some experiments that if you have a, Apple Intelligence or ChatGPT on your phone, and what does it do for the traffic? So it increases, but at the moment in tiny amounts. But when we are getting more into the sort of more advanced ways of prompting and interacting, and when we start to, for example, see that the AI is prompted with some sort of video prompting or something, then suddenly there might be quite a lot of new traffic that comes, and especially for the uplink. So in our conservative forecast, we don't include that, but if we then do a bit of more of a sort of advanced forecast, we can actually see even more growth in the traffic. And that is, I think, one reason why we should be now doing both increasing the spectral efficiency as much as we can, and that cannot be unfortunately done in sort of stepwise manner, because there is sort of the platform especially for the handsets needs to be renewed to include the new radio features. But then we also need to find more spectrum.
Right.
So that's a short answer.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we'll come back to the role of AI, because it seems to be a little bit confusing. Is it like a savior, or is it going to be blamed guilty for generating more traffic? But we have this, on our agenda to discuss later on. But kind of mixing those contrasting viewpoints. The name of the game in 5G was reliability, latency, ultra low latency, reliable connection, and so on. But I have sensed from your comments that what is going to be the main driver for 6G is traffic, more traffic. And then that puts us on a trajectory. Are we going to try to maximize spectral efficiency in the existing bands, or try to unlock new bands, which is what people are trying to discuss over here? So question to you, Ayman. If the name of the game is bandwidth, traffic, how do we deal with that going forward in terms of spectrum, regulatory frameworks, technology development roadmaps, and so on?
Yes, the name of the game is a little bit changing right now, and you are going to generate, you are going to have several use cases that are also powered by AI. This is one thing. The other thing, you have communication and sensing, and for communication and sensing use cases, you need a wider contiguous bandwidth, and you can, for example, increase your spectral efficiency, but you cannot go beyond the Shannon law. You can also do densification, but this is also, there is an inter-cell interference as well that is going to happen. So then when you reach all of those, and when you are optimizing all your parameters, then at the end you are come to one point, with the current spectrum assets you are having, you are not going to satisfy those requirements of a 6G powered application. Then the next step is to look where you can find the right spectrum and for which kind of a deployment you are going to have it. And currently the discussion, I mean, coming back from the World Radio Conference is 23, we have a study item now for WRC 27 in less than 2 years. We have 1.5 years to complete our studies. We are looking at certain bands. And the most promising bands that are currently under discussion is the 7.1 up to 8.4 gigahertz band as one candidate key bands where initial 6G deployment could happen. And this is 1.2 gigahertz of a spectrum or more than 1.2. And this is a kind of like a very good ground play for 6G to have its initial deployment. But beside this one, of course, beside the 7 gigahertz band, there is also the WRC23 have also identified other bands. And one of them is the upper 6 gigahertz. This is also one of the bands. But this upper 6 gigahertz is not available in every regions, and one have to be complemented in different regions. And in that sense, when we have the 6G deployment, initial 6G deployment by 2030, our expectation is that this is going to be deployed, and depending on the region and countries, is going to be deployed around these two ranges. So most probably by 2027, when we are going to go into the WRC in that year, we are going to see the momentum of how the 6G is going to happen, and we are going to see the value of these frequencies, the 7 gigahertz band.
Interesting. I think we're coming to a point where we have some agreement in terms of, let's say, bandwidth traffic requirements growing up. Maybe leveling out, maybe not leveling out. We can argue about that. But I really want to shift gears into AI. Again, the title of the panel is again, it's very challenging. We have AI and 6G in one melting pot, and we haven't really battled out what AI is going to mean for 6G network, for the next wave of telecom networks. So I'm going to ask you, Dr. Ahmed, about AI from an application point of view, because then I'm going to move back to Perty and ask about the role of AI in next G networks, okay? So what do you think is going to be the impact, the role of AI from an application end user perspective? What do we expect networks to do in order to meet this, increasingly growing not only hype, but embracement and engagement around AI in the tech sector?
Okay, so just to make sure I'm answering the right question.
Yes.
You're talking about AI's impact on networks.
Yes. What is AI going to demand from networks in simple terms?
Just trying to select, I'm looking at the camera, I'm trying to be politically correct. Okay, so forget the two letters, A and I, just for a few seconds.
Yes.
Put an application in a black box.
Yes.
And let's do an abstraction exercise. It's going to have the main parameters, which are, downlink throughput, uplink throughput, latency, jitter, packet loss, first time to access it. You can call it AI, you can call it putting a person on the moon, whatever it is.
Yep.
We pull these, and then you do the standard dimensioning exercise of how many of these boxes are going to be moving, and there's the time dimension, and then you do your network planning exercise. So 5G was supposed to be fully capable to support this. It got you. It has your back on latency. It has your back on capacity. It has your back on reliability. It has your back on uplink. So in theory, it should be more than fine to support it. If there is a box, and again, I'm avoiding to use the 2 letters, that has latency requirements beyond the capabilities of 5G networks, then we can say, okay, we need a new G. If there is a box that has a throughput requirements, uplink or downlink, that exceeds the capabilities of 5G, then we can say we need a new G. But I don't see any of that right now, because if you're talking about consumer applications, at the end of the day, human response, human comprehension is in milliseconds, right? And 5G latency on paper can go down up to 1 millisecond, so it's speeding human response. Now, where is the application hosted, and then you go to the edge and all the other cool stuff that is also supported by 5G.
Right.
So again, no matter how I look at it, I don't see how it could not be, in theory, supported by 5G.
I do have some, before I move on to Perty, I do have some actual experience at MobiSense dealing with 5G SA. The goodies of 5G actually, evolve and emerge to the surface when you do a 5G SA deployment.
Correct.
And we've been doing that as part of private 5G deployments for industrial sector, for the factory, for the warehouse. We've been engaging with stakeholders, like major stakeholders in Saudi, like Aramco and Aramco Digital, trying to roll out some POCs and deployments. And that's where you see actually the mix between AI and telecom. Coming up to a point where you have to, really figure out your deployment. Where do you split your compute? How much do you do at the edge? How much do you do at the back end? Because bandwidth is of essence over there. How much latency? How much frequency? How much channelization you have? So there is some let's say. It is really coming up right now to a point where you really want to be very. 5G is not really a magical wound. It's something that you have to cater for carefully in terms of workload splitting and engineering and so on. And comment, yes.
And that's one of the key areas where the industry shot itself in the foot by developing 7 different configurations for you to roll out 5G.
Yeah.
So now they're like, let's nuke it. Let's go back to a 4G style. One architecture, one setup, boom, and done.
Perty, you have something to say, obviously.
Yeah, the last one was really much supported. So this we are driving that. Let's make it simple and let's not fool ourselves with non-standalone and standalone, for example. But the challenge that we maybe are facing as industry when we do this 10-year cycle Gs is that we cannot bring everything on board that sort of appears in the meantime, and we didn't bring AI into the standards into 5G because, at least I had no idea that we should, and the industry was not there, and much of the sort of revolution has happened afterwards. But what you said earlier about sort of higher level network optimization, for example, using SON, that's what we offer today, that there are some machine learning algorithms that optimize the spectral efficiency or energy efficiency of radio access networks. So nothing sort of special there. Also, as a vendor, we have a large field force that implements and maintains base stations, and they are using all the sort of chat GPT kind of tools and predictive maintenance and anomaly detection, sort of stuff like every industry kind of has adapted in the past years. But the thing that we did not do in 5G was that we didn't try to optimize the actual link layer radio performance using AI, and that's what's been explored now in what is called the release 20 in 3GPP studies, that the radio engineers kind of know that the receiver and transmit chains are kind of split into modules or blocks, that you have a channel estimation and you have receiver algorithms and you have power amplifier linearization, pre-distortion kind of phases. And chances are that these things that were created for humans to understand and optimize could be done more efficiently by neural networks, for example, convolutional neural networks, or something that it's possible that the AI, the neural network, is better at interpreting or guessing or sort of receiving the signals over the air interface than the human-created algorithms. And that's what we are exploring, and what the community is exploring, and our Nokia Bell Labs has been on this for quite some years. And we see some performance improvement, at least in the sort of lab environment for that. So now the discussion that the standards community is having, that what if the neural network is better at guessing what the transmitted signal was? Can we, for example, send less pilot symbols in that case, and then we get more payload, and sort of very fundamental radio stuff that could impact the standards, and that's what could be one element that brings the spectral efficiency then improvement into 6G, and I'm kind of fascinated about this, as you can hear.
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic to try to figure out what AI can do in terms of ASIC design, optimization, system on chip, and so on. But I want to take the discussion in terms of what AI can do to the next level, Pertti. Again, I'm going to stick with you, pick your brains on something else, and then it's going to pave the way to a question to you, Iman. AI can make receiver architectures more optimized, better spectral efficiency within the network of a single operator. Can we expect AI to do much more in terms of shared spectrum access, dynamic spectrum access? Professor Slim in the morning mentioned something about cognitive radio access, been discussed for the past 20, 30 years. Would AI have an actual role of making mobile operators sharing scarce spectrum resources before we open up 7 and 8 gigahertz for discussion? Can we do better right now with the spectrum that we have using AI?
Yeah.
You like the question? I'll come back to you.
This is also excellent question, because I think many cases the sharing rules that we have between various services are not sort of optimized for performance, but optimized for sort of security or sort of isolation. And we have seen quite good progress in for example, channel, or recognizing what's going on in the channel kind of thing. That's what AI is good, that it kind of take a snapshot of the interference environment, and then you can, in milliseconds, you can decode that, okay, there's a transmitter there and there's transmitter there, and sort of the situational awareness of what is happening in the frequency band is much improved with the cognitive capabilities of AI. Then how this can be translated into regulation, I think is a bit of a work in progress at the moment, that there is ways to handle this sort of decision-making space much more efficiently, and AI can help there.
Yeah.
But how to turn that into regulation needs to be worked on still a little bit more.
So I'll come back to you, Ahmed. I mean, Iman, can we pick up that comment from Perti. What's the way to go forward? Like, do we battle out for new spectrum bands like the upper mid band, or do we try to harness the promise of AI and just keep using because if you really want to go for a new band, RF front ends, new transceiver architectures, economies of scale, let's wait until the price points go down and so on, or do we just keep using the bands that we have right now and try to again utilize AI to the max? What's your point on viewpoint on this?
We have to distinguish between the initial 6G deployment and the long-term deployment. And if we would like to deploy 6G in 2030, and this is going to happen so that there could be innovation moving on, then we have to start from a new, fresh band. Because we have to bear in mind that, for example, all the bands that is already right now for other generation, they are being used. 700 megahertz is used, the 3.5 gigahertz is being used. And there is also legal constraints on it, because you cannot just switch off the network and put a new network and ask of it. There is a regulation around refarming the bands. So you cannot just refarm like this. There is some constraint on it. This is one thing, that there is a regulatory constraint on it. There is the technology constraint on it, because all those bands, they have a limited bandwidth. And if you want to realize the full vision of 6G, then you need to have a wider bandwidth. And a wider bandwidth currently under the discussion is only just around certain kind of bands. There is only just few bands that can offer up to 400 megahertz per network, and you need it to have contiguous, because the application of 6G need this contiguous bandwidth and a wider contiguous bandwidth. So going back again and looking at the availability of the spectrum, below 10 gigahertz band, they are already being in use. And you cannot switch the network like this. So you need to start the initial deployment starting from a new fresh band. And this is the reason why we are studying this 7 and 8 gigahertz band, because we have looked at it, we have did our analysis, we looked at all the bands. Those all other bands are going to come in, all the bands like millimeter wave, other bands which is currently being used for other generation, they are going to come in later phases when there is the legacy networks are being moved and being updated to the new technology. But as of today, and as of the initial deployment of a 6G, and I'm stressing that point, as of today and as of the current situation, and if I wanted to deploy the 6G with its full power, I need to start with a clean band.
Okay. I hear you.
You hear me, yes? So I'm not going to stress the value of the 7 and 8 gigahertz band combined as well with our 6 gigahertz. I'm going to stress it again and again and again.
Excellent.
But you have to understand that there is availability of the spectrum also depends on the region where you are. So 7 and 8 gigahertz band is the band we have to go for the 6G initial deployment.
Yes, please.
Okay, Iman's going to hate me for saying this. First of all, of course I could be wrong. I'm very skeptical that anyone's going to roll out 6G in 2030. That's number one. Number two, I'm not convinced that any band above 5 gigahertz is suitable for any macro cellular deployment. Because physics, there's outdoor to indoor. And set up your 6G at 6 gigahertz outside of this building. Good luck getting a signal here. So I'm not against the band, but hyping it up, this is it. If you don't have 7 gigahertz, forget about 7G. I fundamentally disagree. I fundamentally disagree on that. Bear with me. Also, I have a published white paper. You could look it up. It's titled Evolving Low and Mid Frequency Bands for 5G Advanced and 6G.
Yep.
And there's a follow-up paper that's going to come out soon, inshallah, I hope. If you look at the bands we have right now, it's a mess. Severely underutilized, severely far, far away from its potential. If we just clean up the mess that we have right now in low bands, in mid bands, switching some bands from FDD to TDD, this could make a huge difference. I think it's criminal for band 7 to exist today. Like switching band 7 to 41, boom, that's like at least 2x in your spectral efficiency with the rollout of massive MIMO. So there's a lot of work that can be done in the existing bands that where 4G could benefit, where 5G could benefit. It doesn't have to be, let's start and just run away from the issues we have right now. Yes, 5G was a failure, but here's new 6G in a new band where you're going to need 3x your network density. And let's go.
Yeah. Yes, you want to say something, Imani? Go ahead.
Yes. Theoretically, you can do everything, but can you convince me why you have still legacy 2G and you cannot switch it off? There is regulation around it, and I have been yesterday in a panel, and when I was just even trying to suggest, encourage that legacy networks to be updated, to be, when I just say encouraging them to do it, there was a massive pushback.
Let me support you. I want to support you on this, please. I used to joke that 2G is going to outlive me. Okay? But
It's what, sorry?
that 2G is going to outlive me. Probably everyone in this room. I used to, but not anymore. I think 2G is on fast track to crashing really hard simply because of the security vulnerabilities.
Yep.
There are countries right now, and I can quote, this is online. Thailand, for example. The regulator issued a directive to operators. You got 1 year to pull the plug on 2G and 3G. That's it. We're moving on to 4G. Figure out VoLTE, figure out everything. We're done with this. Why? Because there are some bad people who can easily set up fake 2G networks and do some really bad things. And the network is just toast when it comes to security. Like, you cannot use it reliably. I understand the socio-economic aspects of it, especially in developing countries, but believe me, these countries, all it takes is one crook to set a fake base station up and steal some people for them to like, okay, we're ready for 4G, let's go.
Right. So I want to dwell on this. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I also worked with GSM in the beginning of my career and thought that it will live forever.
Yeah.
I think for
Hopefully
the,
not,
for the, let's say, machine-to-machine kind of electricity meter and sort of water meter markets seem to be the stickiest ones, that there the cycles are so long that it's really hard to justify economically to replace them with anything newer. But what comes to your earlier comment on the utilizing the existing spectrum bands, so in our thinking we see that 6G would open in a new band, but that at the same time we would have the full backwards compatibility to 5G installations or installed base, so that we, in no circumstance, we want to implement the sort of a thin little 6G islands on top of everything else, which I guess we tried with 5G and it's a failure. We have a idea which we call the multi-radio spectrum sharing, that installing that feature into the 5G networks, we can share the sort of the base station can share the traffic flexibly or dynamically inside the existing bands and balance between 5G and 6G usage, so that the new, if I have a 6G phone, it can fully utilize also on top of, in addition to the 6G frequencies, all the existing 5G bands, so that we get the service level kind of parity with 5G on the day one.
There's a big problem though. My phone today does everything I need to do on 4G, not even 5G. And you're telling me I want to put 6G in it too? I'm not sure.
So let's hold on to that thought. Like maybe we can drive the discussion towards the next G, the 6G, the need for, again, driven by applications or aspirations. Again, whether it's hyped or not, but there has been lots of discussion lately around ISAC, joint communication and sensing, integrated sensing and communications, and most of the R&D work has been done around that concept in the millimeter wave band, 27, 26, 28 gigahertz. But I've seen people lately saying, you know what, can we do it sub-6? Maybe it's not doable because of the wavelength being too long. Maybe that kind of application or wave of application can be unlocked by introducing a new band, which is the upper mid-band millimeter wave. So anyone can comment on this.
So
yes.
my fundamental issue with this is these alleged use cases that are going to drive 6G fall under the same category as self-driving 5G cars, remote surgery 5G, and all the other stuff that was great for talks and panels, and maybe you could do some great research on it and publish papers. Where is it?
I don't know, Bertie, where is it?
The integrated sensing and communication.
Who's going to pay for that?
Do
you have a customer for it?
It's a research topic that is kind of looking for the application at the moment, and especially this, that who's going to pay whom to reach what kind of targets, and that's being experimented. Our researchers, by the way, started these studies in the sub-terahertz, which is like 100 gigahertz. So this for sure is not going to be implemented any day soon. I think the idea that you have an installed base of thousands of base stations in your network, and somehow you use that asset as some sort of a radar, carries some value in it, but how to make that value to be monetized or even use this is being studied. What I personally think is that it makes no sense to modify every base station to be simultaneously receiving and transmitting and receiving information for this radar usage, but it probably is sort of using a different band or different waveform for that radar functionality. And there is good work actually happening on using millimeter wave for that. The use case thoughts that have been presented are often kind of weak. What I normally ask is that instead of all this difficulty, what if I put the camera on the base station? Then I can also see quite a lot. But maybe there is an aspect of sort of anomaly detection into this, that the base stations could somehow monitor the environment and sort of build a picture of that in their memory, and then when something changes, that triggers some other action then to check that, okay, what changed, and sort of the first response sort of radar reflection could be valuable in some cases.
All right.
But it's a learning process.
Excellent. Yeah, go ahead.
There was a point that have been brought by Dr. Ahmed that he was saying that he's still in a doubt about the performance of a base station working around 7 gigahertz band from the propagation. But luckily, Bertie's team, they are doing testing and trialing around the global, and we have several papers on. We tested the technology. We are testing right now the technology on the 7 gigahertz band, and the performance is comparable to the 3.5 gigahertz performance from coverage point of view. It's comparable to it from uplink, downlink, throughput as well. So you are invited to read our blogs about it. I'm going to send it to you, and maybe we will invite you back also to our radio home, and you can see the base station.
Yeah,
live.
I see the gentleman actually in the front row smiling because it seems that this is going to happen sometime soon in Saudi. It's happening right now for for coverage, but then again it might entail some complexities in terms of receiver architecture, pilot. I mean, we don't really want to take it too deep in terms of technicalities. Yes,
I want to
Dr.
set
Ahmed.
up the base station in the parking lot, and let's do the testing right here. I am a big fan of experiments in controlled environments where you engineer the outcome.
Yeah. So, yep.
Continuing the advertisement here, so the trick to fool the laws of nature is, of course, to put more processing into the antenna. So we have created the experimental base station that has 128 TRXs and 768 antenna elements and all that. So we put much more processing in the transmit compared to what is now in the existing networks. We maintain the same form factor. We are able to, in especially outdoor environment, reach the same coverage. And like Ahmed Talat here can tell more, we are testing this in Saudi Arabia, not so far from here at the moment.
So I'm conscious of time.
Yeah.
Like we have 5 minutes left, and I want to give the floor to each one of you to give your final remarks in the final 5 minutes. You have a burning kind of comment you want to make.
I was going to say, let me last because I started.
All right, we'll finish up with you. But I really want to wrap up in the context, or let's say, trying to give the audience a glimpse of the near-term future of what impact, influence, whether adverse impact or positive influence would AI have or demand from the next G or the next rollout flavor of telecom networks. And anyone is willing, is welcome to start, since we're leaving Dr. Ahmed until the end.
So
Yes, please.
maybe just to comment this from the radio performance point of view. So we are now experimenting on what makes sense to include into the standards and into our products. And that's the focus of the work today. But when we have the 6G networks open, then AI is just one tool inside the networks that is kind of accommodated because it exists and it can bring benefit, but we have no reason to sort of emphasize 6G, AI use in 6G as a per se as an important thing. It's just something that we use in everyday life, and also the networks use to run their business, which is to carry the traffic.
Thank you. Iman.
For me, as Bertie was saying, that AI is just a tool, is one feature. But for me, it's more than a feature, because then I will have it in the network design. The network design will have to capture this feature.
Yeah.
And this is, for me, is a thing that when I go forward in realizing and having more application coming there, this will be a helpful tool.
Yep.
A very helpful tool. And don't forget that we are start to use it. And we don't have also to forget about the cognitive radio that started 20, 30 years ago. Now it's becoming to shed some lights on it. Yeah. And we will see some changes even in the air interface when we are coming into the 6G era. And this will be a powerful tools to utilize.
Hopefully.
Fully agree with Iman on this one. I fully support continued research, development, academia, that space, pushing the boundaries. But when we talk here, and I say this with a heavy heart, I'm a radio junkie. I spent 10 years of my life on 5G, from 3GPP standardization to regulation to rollout. And I'm very proud of what I've done, and I don't regret it. But we started off with very limited technologies, with 2G, and then 3G got better and 4G got better, where in that era, you could shoot first and ask questions later. You just need to bring better capabilities and the application's ready. But then with 5G, we brought a neutron bomb to a knife fight, where really you have such a capable system that the world maybe not may not be ready for, and there was a lot of issues with standardization. Like there were so many mistakes. So if I want to have one takeaway from this, I'm not against 6G, I'm not against using AI, but I'm against using the playbook that we used 10 years ago. Like nobody is gonna buy or take you seriously if you start doing what I coded in the beginning of this panel. So the industry really needs to really ask, what are we solving for? Is this a real problem that needs to be solved and someone's actually going to pay money for it? Without that, the conversation is useless, in my humble opinion. And on 7 gigahertz, I always say 200 megahertz in C-band is much better than 200 megahertz in 7 gigahertz. So a lot of operators are stuck with barely 100. I would love the industry to lobby for more spectrum in C-band. And then once we run out of spectrum in C-band, then let's climb that mountain of 7 gigahertz with all the technical challenges and the expensive equipment and so on and so forth. So I'm all for more spectrum in C-band, be it N77 or N79. And once because you have 900 megahertz there and you have 600 megahertz there, 1.5 gigahertz, let's use it. Once we run out of that spectrum, by all means, God bless, I'll support your fight for that additional spectrum. But
Excellent.
until we do that, I'm not on that camp. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the final comments. And then, like, just to that end, to a final wrap-up comment, we commend CST for being so proactive and agile in not only considering, but sometimes soon rolling out regulations for opening up that upper N79 band for light licensing utilization. This is really progressive. Again, we commend CST for taking that step, and hopefully, yes.
CST is a trailblazer. I wish other countries followed them.
So on that comment, we wrap up with a round of applause to CST for hosting this panel. Thank you for the esteemed panelists for sharing this your views and this interactive comments and discussion. Thank you so much.